My name is Gerald, and I'm a member of the Labor Action Committee to Free Mumia. We got started as a group during the 90s at the height of the Free Mumia movement in this Bay Area. At that time, there were over 3,000 members of the Free Mumia movement. We tried to concentrate on the trade unions. We thought that there's power in labor. Two things that we did quite well, I think, is working with the Longshore Union. The Longshore Union on the 24th of April, and it was 1999, stopped all work up and down the coast. More than 20 ports shut down to free Mumia. And I think that was a very important accomplishment by that union. You know, very important. The teachers here in Oakland also did a thing where they didn't shut the school down, but they ran a program of Mumia Abu-Jamal and the death penalty for one day. The whole Oakland Unified School District. This was run by the unions. This shows you what can be done. Never forget that. Where there's people, there's power. Where there's workers, there is power. Okay, so I want to thank you all for coming out here. And I want to talk about why are we out here? We just trying to get cold or something? No, I'm trying to warm you up right now. All right, so let me just be clear. Let me try to get to the point and then share the mic with others. Mumia Abu-Jamal has a long and sordid history with public radio, with NPR, okay? It starts off, Mumia was actually an employee of NPR. He worked at the local station in Philadelphia. It was called WHYY, and he was a smash hit. People loved him. He ran into trouble with something I think that Brother Malik knows about. It's called telling the truth. All right? Mumia was stuck on telling the truth. And sometimes you have to pay a price for that in this world, in this capitalist environment. Specifically what happened, 1988. I think it was 1988. The MOVE commune was basically evicted from their home in Powellton, okay? Has anybody ever heard of this? Some of you were not born when this happened. All right, I think it requires an explanation. Rizzo was the mayor. So what do you send when you go to an eviction? They sent 600 pigs to evict the MOVE commune. 600 pigs. They made a circle around the house. Excuse me, let me get over here. They made a circle around the residence, and then somebody said, I heard a shot, I heard a shot. Yeah, they always hear shots. And they started shooting. Now remember, they have a circle around this residence. As a result, 6 police were shot by police. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to, what can you do? Okay, at the press conference, one of them died. So at the press conference, Rizzo turns to the press and says, look it, come on, I need us to pull together now. We don't want no criticism. A man is dead. Well, he don't want no criticism of a circular firing squad. Well, there was one journalist present that wasn't with it, and that was determined to ask severe, serious questions, and that is Mumia Abu-Jamal. He criticized the police right at that press conference. That made Rizzo break out, and he said, you know what? People listen to you, and they believe some of what you say. I don't care what happens, we're gonna get your ass. He didn't say ass, but he said, we're gonna get you. I don't know what that was about. Where did that go? Well, unfortunately, years later, Mumia wound up in prison. But before he went to prison, he was fired by WHYY for telling the truth. They try to say he was biased towards Mu. There is no truth in that. Mumia had a habit, whenever he talked about police brutality, he invited the police to come into the studio to speak. They refused. They cannot defend murder. Okay? So they fired him. So he has a relationship with NPR that goes back for years. That was before 1982 that he was fired. Now, then it goes on. After he was in prison, we got together with him and we got a contract. All right, I'm gonna leave Richard to explain that, but I just say we got a contract for him to do a program called Live from Death Row. Richard will give you the facts about that. I don't want to take all the time, but they broke that contract. NPR signed a contract with Mumia and then broke the contract. Why? I believe Richard will explain. And then now, here again, we have Mr. Krasner, Philly DA. They got a 7-part series. I saw the trailer. I want to actually watch this stuff. And why are we here? Because, unfortunately, Philly DA is a puff piece for Larry Krasner. And that's unfortunate, because we don't just want a part of the truth. Remember, censorship is not just the fact where they distort and make people, they get rid of you. But censorship in America particularly, we know this, is often self-imposed. They make us censor ourselves. And part of censorship is also what is not said. That's censorship. And that's what we're protesting, because Mumia is one of the most well-known political prisoners on the planet Earth. South Africa, they know about Mumia. England, they know about Mumia. How are you going to have a film about a DA who actually his position is to keep Mumia in jail? Now, how do I know that? Do I read his mind? No. I don't read nobody's mind. I check out your actions, what you do. And what he did was he filed a brief basically defending all of what the judicial system has done to Mumia up till now. On February the 3rd, he literally calls for Mumia not to get an appeal. Okay, so we're not here by accident. We're not here because we're angry men. We are focusing our protests against what we feel is a form of censorship by not telling the whole story. And what do we want? Well, we know that Mumia is not only innocent, but he was framed. So what do we want? We want a film that is called Manufacturing Guilt to be shown on KQED after they show Mr. Krasner's puff piece. And also, Brother Kaepernick, Colin Kaepernick, made a film, short 5-minute statement to explain why he supports Mumia. These are educational pieces, and I think they fit well with Larry Krasner and his puff piece. Okay, now I do want to say this. This is not a personal matter here. We're not just, mad at Larry Krasner. This is political in the first order. We want Mumia out. Part of the way they keep people in prison is by hiding the truth from the public. And many of you were not born when Mumia first went to jail, 1982. Okay? So many of you are not cognizant of all of the facts connected to this struggle. But you stick around, and you will be. Okay, so this is Brother Thur, former Panther. Share your ideas with us, please.
So, I'd like to be a former Panther. If anybody can help me, help me. But I still got comrades locked up, and I don't know how you walk away. So, I guess I'm still a Panther until everybody is free. But the question with me, Mumia, is, and this Krasner guy, is quite simple. Krasner represents the state. The state, okay, not used to these things. The state essentially wants to kill Mumia. And this is not what they call hyperbole. They just killed the longest held Panther in the United States in March. So 51 years in prison and eligible for parole since 1976. Panther is the operative thing. And so with Mumia, it's the same thing. And I think it's really important for us to understand that just protesting is not enough. Get involved. Make your voice heard. Mumia comes from a line of folks who set out to try to bring justice to everybody in this country. A line of folks who called out injustice and were then targeted. And they hit the target with Mumia. And what we really need to do is organize. I know a lot of us have our own organizations and we're in various silos, but around some issues, it's very important that we come together and not allow the state to drive wedges. Because I'm for this, you're for that, somebody else may be for something else. The state loves that. They will drive a wedge between people that a car can drive through. So I just ask you to get involved. Most of you probably are involved, but it's a whole lot more than just free Mumia, a slogan. We've got to get action, we've got to have action, and we've got to demand that folks like this give up some equal time. If Krasner is going to be a hero, let's figure out who he's a hero to and call that question. Because he's not a hero to me. I'm sorry. He's just not. He defends a judge who, in front of his courtroom, the people working there, proclaimed that he would help the state burn or bury this, I'll be nice to say, N-word. That's what he said in court. And people in court testified to this. Yet, Krasner is our friend, and he doesn't find that to be objectionable, but rather to go along with the charade. He reminds me of a guy named Goodman, who stood by and watched a whole neighborhood of Move people burn down, and then claimed to be a liberal. So, get busy, folks. Get involved. Thank you for you.
Talking about a lifelong activist and a civil rights attorney. Can I talk about your son just for 1 minute? Come on, man.
Raymond.
Yeah, this is Raymond Boots Riley's father. I don't know if you've seen it, but Raymond has a very interesting film called Sorry to Bother You. Came through the Bay Area like a fire, but this is his dad, and he's got something to be proud of. But share your ideas with us, brother.
Thank you. Nice to be out after a period of lockdown for me. It's my 77th year, trying to be safe from seeing all the folks here. Yes, my son is somebody that I'm proud of, and I'm proud of my years of activism and all the people I've gotten to know. for many years before Raymond, I was active since I was 12 years old. So I want us to celebrate what we do and what we all are. One of the things about Mumia is that he has been part of raising a generation of people around the country and an awareness around the world of what the U.S. government is like and what the criminal justice system is like. He has been able to bring a spotlight to many aspects of the prison industrial complex and the nature of imperialism and the oppression. Mumia has been able to bring a spotlight to the racism that exists in this superpower of white supremacy that masquerades as a democratic republic for some folks. And we struggle for that. We struggle for those changes to occur in this country because we have the power to move with each other, work with each other, build coalitions, build movements, and build beyond our silos. Mumia has been part of that in bringing all folks together. The fact that we have a number of people here testifies to that. The fact that he's gotten attention around the world testifies to that and demonstrates what can happen when a movement is being built. So whatever happens with Mumia, he has played a major role in developing the struggle against imperialism, against capitalism, against racial capitalism, and against the racism that is so endemic to every part of our lives. I want to raise up the movement here and be part of that, and I came here because I was asked on this particular day to come and stand with you and our demand that KQED develops the ability to expose the entire truth about what's happening in our criminal justice system. Now, I'm an attorney. I do civil rights work. After many years of being a community organizer and labor organizer and activist, I went to law school. And as an attorney, I've done criminal justice work around criminal defense and police misconduct, fighting against police brutality. And I find that it's necessary to point out the injustices in our system, in our court system, and the criminal neglect that occurs within various parts of the system. I find that it's necessary to fight against police departments, and I find it's necessary to fight against the appointments of particular people in police departments. I find that it's necessary in the work that I do to be part of trying to bring community reform to the criminal justice system. I have supported initiatives. I've supported organizing oversight bodies in Oakland, in San Francisco, and other places, and I see that's necessary. I've supported trying to get district attorneys in offices that would make a difference. And I like the idea that Larry Krasner, coming from where he supposedly came from, was going to be the DA in Philadelphia. I like the idea that we have a DA in San Francisco who comes from a different background. I think that makes a difference. It's not revolution. It's not the change that we have to hope for and build for forever, but it's part of the struggle we make. All the struggles we are engaged in build to the idea that we can make a change and can take control of our lives and take control of the political actions that impact us. And in that we have some independence and be able to do that. What we do is combine together to make that difference. I want to say here, for all certainty, for anybody who will hear what I have to say, I don't want Larry Krasner to be defeated by this right-wing dog that's running against him. I don't want the DA in LA to be defeated by the police department, the sheriff's department, and the right-wing dogs that are running against him. I don't want the DA in San Francisco to be defeated and recalled by the Republican and the right-wing dogs that are trying to move him out. But I do want us to be able to say that we can have serious criticisms, point out the inequalities in this system, and at the same time fight with people to make changes. KQED is not a revolutionary voice for the people. And but we are still calling upon KQED to air the film that we want. Manufacturing guilt. We want KQED to see that there are people out here who can both hold both aspects of KQED in our hands, that it is both a part of the mass media system that portrays our communities and our people and our struggles in a negative way. We can also see KQED as the organization that perpetuates a system of inequalities and oppression, of economic exploitation, that also promotes ideas of a white supremacist society. Every institution we have in this country is doing that. KQED is no exception. But we can also call upon KQED to listen to us. We can call upon KQED that it is a part of a society where there is some because of a mass movement that has existed here for so many years, for centuries, for a mass movement that is so developed in the last few months that we can at least expect that some people will listen to us when we say there are issues that have to be dealt with in a much more sincere way in this kind of society. So the economic oppression, the racist oppression, the racist oppression, the supremacy of the society can be attacked, sometimes using the leverage that we have to reach out to mass media and other folks. And we can expect that KQED could be responsive. We're not saying to KQED that we know that you're evil through and through and that there's no chance for you to show this film. We're saying that you can show this film and that people will allow it and will watch it and will accept the fact that you are providing evidence of what's happening on both sides. KQED can do this.
That's right.
And our approach is that we will, of course, go to all the alternative media to expose this, to expose that role, and to point out what KQED is doing right now in lifting up this Larry Krasner and trying to present an image of reform in the criminal justice system when there's really very little reform being done. But they are lifting up this idea that these folks and this movement across the country is engaged in criminal justice reform. We want to call that to account. We want to call KQED to task to say, live up to that principle, to that ideal that you claim that you represent. And I'm here to be part of that as an attorney and activist in the community, as part of the open community, part of the Bay Area and the state community around civil rights issues, around criminal justice issues, around the Black Lives Matter movement. I want to be and announce that I am part of that, and I want to see a serious attempt at KQED to show the true issues around Mumia Abu-Jamal. There's absolutely a critical aspect of what we do to build the movement. So all of us who have been here forever, and all of us who are starting, and all of us who are learning to be part of the movement and learning from this movement now to free our brother in jail, to free all the other brothers in jail, to free all the women in jail, to call for accountability for all the people that are being murdered by this system, to understand that a killer cop got convicted today, but he didn't get convicted of murder one. He didn't get convicted of what he needed to be convicted of in order for us as a people to believe that there is a greater movement, penetrating more aspects of the system that holds people accountable for what they do. But I'm part of that movement that is constantly building. We don't reach the pinnacle yet, but we are constantly building, and this is an aspect of it. And thank you, Gerald, and thank you, everybody out here.
I'm going to have Carol take over and tell us a little bit about what's happening with Mumia and also about Brother Cooper. Thank you, Carol.
Kevin Cooper. But first I want to say, are a lot of you here today because you know that Mumia had heart operation yesterday? Yeah. So what we learned today is that it was successful and that he is recovering. It was open heart surgery, which we weren't clear about at first. It's really hard to get information. Even his wife can't call into the hospital and find out about him, but it sounds like he is healing. So this is good. I mean, because I think part of the reasons for this pretty good turnout we're having is that we were really worried about him. He's one of the many prisoners who got COVID. Most of the political prisoners have gotten COVID. Some of them really, really seriously. And of course, it's not just the political prisoners, because the prisons have been the main worst source of COVID, along with nursing homes in the whole country, with the prison authorities totally ignoring the danger and doing what they needed to do to try to keep people from getting it. So he is one of the people. Mumia got it bad, and the heart condition might have been sparked by the COVID. So very serious, but it looks like now that he is come through the operation okay. You know, everything today with guilty was due, I think, in large part to the solidarity built by George Floyd's family and the Black Lives Matter movement. Tremendous solidarity. Millions of people marching in the street. Multinational. All kinds of people marching for George Floyd and for justice. And I just want to introduce this next segment where we're going to have a short 3.5-minute recorded statement from Kevin Cooper, because it's such profound solidarity coming from a man who is on death row in San Quentin, has been in prison for almost as long as Mumia has. For 38 years he's been in prison. He's totally innocent. He was framed, and he keeps fighting. And part of his fight is an expression of solidarity with other people under attack and with Mumia Abu-Jamal. So let's listen to him.
In the state of California, I'm speaking to you to show and to tell you about my utmost respect, appreciation, and love for my cultural brother, Mumia Abu-Jamal, who is currently being tortured and close to death in the state of Pennsylvania. If anybody ever wondered or questioned or doubted why our sister Pam Africa stated many, many years ago, down with this rotten ass system, all you have to do is not just see, but acknowledge what is happening to us at the front end of this criminal justice system, all throughout this criminal justice system, and at the back end of this criminal justice system, where Mumia is being tortured to death by the prison system in the state of Pennsylvania. This inhumane treatment would not happen to him if he was a dummy, or if he was silent, or if he was a good boy. But because he's a revolutionary, and because he speaks truth to power, and because he cares about the plight of all people, especially people who look like him, we people who they call black people, they're trying to kill him. This has nothing to do with his case per se.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
With the fact that he won't shut up, that he is respected around the world because he speaks the truth about this rotten ass system called American criminal justice. There comes a time in everybody's life when they must stand up for something or sit down for everything. Now is the time to stand up and speak out for Mumia, who has historically, ever since he's been oppressed, has stood up and spoke out for us. We can save him. And to do so, we must get involved. I'm on death row. I'm fighting the same fight he's fighting, against the same system that he's fighting. And like him, I'm not shutting up. Like him, I'm not being a good boy. Like him, I'm not staying in my place. We need your help. Fight for Mumia, as I am. In struggle and solidarity from death row in San Quentin prison, I'm Kevin Cooper.
When you hear Brother Kevin Cooper, because here's an innocent man framed up, racist frame up, and it's been proven that he's innocent, and they still don't want to let him go. And that's frustrating, y'all. That's frustrating. Okay, a mistake that I made, I want to point out to you. If you want to take action and to call the management of KQED, here is the phone number. Let me give you time to pull out a pen or write it on your.
We take out our phone and do it now.
Well, yeah, hold on, Judy. Thank you. Thank you. We can, you know what? She want to stop everything, do it now. I think that we can call right after a couple of speakers. It'll be okay. But here's the number. All right? It doesn't matter if you make a mistake. We all make mistakes. But can you be corrected? That's really the question, and I've been corrected on this. So let me share it with you. It's 415-864-2000. That's KQED's main number. You can get it. You can Google it. You can get it yourself. But you know what? Call them. Let's act like we believe here. Are we right? Of course we're right. Let's act like it. Yeah. Let's call him. Tell him, look, we want to see this movie, this documentary, on listener-sponsored KQED. Yeah, say it. Tell it to them.
And brothers and siblings, it is an honor to be here supporting Mumia Abu-Jamal. Many of us have spent decades fighting for the liberation of Mumia and all of the political prisoners. And Mumia, right now, is at a very critical juncture. He really pivots between life and death. The emergency heart surgery was not an unusual occurrence. His health has been going downhill for many years. He has suffered hepatitis C, cirrhosis of the liver, a very painful skin ailment, but yet, and then COVID, and then heart almost dying and having to be whisked in the hospital. You know, no one knew that he was taken to the hospital. This is what happens in prison. They just take you. They don't even call the family. The family tried to reach him and they found out, oh, he's at the hospital. What is he at the hospital for? They wouldn't even tell them. It took a while for the information to filter out. Mumia is in prison for a crime he did not commit. Mumia has spent over 41 years, most of his life, locked down. A very similar story is true of the other long-term political prisoners. We just felt the death of Chip Fitzgerald, a longtime political prisoner and also a former Black Panther Party member who died behind the walls. We must stop this. If the trial today told us anything, and that is that the system will move when faced with a massive uprising. It really was the Black Lives Matter movement. It was the youth in the streets. It was the uprising at the heart of COVID that created the verdict today. But don't let it fool you. We still have the same criminal legal system, and we still have so many other brothers and sisters, transgender people who are facing violence, who will not receive that justice until we get rid of and overturn and abolish this criminal legal system. So we really need to get together. We really need to continue our struggle. Mumia will not be set free until we rebuild that movement to free him. We are at the precipice of that movement. We must bring Mumia into all the struggles to support Dante Wright, the struggles to support George Floyd, the struggles to stop the evictions, to stop the joblessness, to stop the ICE
and the deportations, the struggles to stop the U.S. military all around the world. After all, this is what Mumia is all about. Mumia never, very rarely, talked about himself. He always talked about all of the other struggles, and he brought them together. This is what we're facing. I want to invite you to come out to the other actions that are happening this week. There is going to be a demonstration.
And the prisoners, okay? And it's a real problem, because in the prisons, you cannot safe distance. I'll tell you, actually, at one point there were 6 cases of COVID-19 in San Quentin, and these brilliant administrators, I say that with extreme sarcasm, decided to transfer people out of a place where there was an outbreak, Chino. They sent people outside of Chino without testing them. They said, well, we had a test last month, so it's all good. The number of people in San Quentin with COVID rose to 2,000. And I'm sorry, I can't remember how many died. That's the leadership that we're dealing with. That's the leadership that must go. Okay? So right now, for no justice under capitalism, we got Sister Rees.
This is a letter of thanks from Mumia from a month ago that I'm really hoping goes through right now so we can all listen and hear his gratitude for the movement. So,
Dear sisters, brothers, comrades, and friends, and family on the move, how can I thank you? These, my words, can hardly measure the flood of love that you have radiated on my behalf recently. I am almost without words. But I'll try. Thank you, Wazira. Thank you, Pan Africa. Your support from Philadelphia to France, from points across the nation, and literally around the globe, have pulled me from a prison cell and placed me in a hospital room to be treated for a condition I didn't know I had. In the age of pandemic, now, indeed, deeply doubted pandemic, as of January 2021, over 300,000 prisoners have tested positive for COVID-19. Imagine that. In a cell, trying to breathe with a weight pressing on your chest. Imagine an elder man or woman, or even a young person. Because yes, we are also in an age of mass incarceration, which day by day increases its infliction upon the elderly, struggling unsuccessfully to breathe, to walk, to be. I thank you all for reaching out, and I urge you all, let our mission be abolition. I love you all. Thank you again from the bottom of my heart. From Imprisoned Nation, this is Mumia Abu-Jamal.
Let's hear it for him.
These commentaries are recorded by Prison Radio.
In their own way. I find this sister particularly creative in terms of the way she brings people around and brings people into the struggle. This is Sister Alita.
All right, this is just a call and response I need you to do. This is how my peeps get down. I'm so grateful to be here. I'm 52, and this is very important. I was 19 in Boston when I started working with Mumia. Kazi Toure and the group that we had recruited us from college campuses, and we would Boston. I'm 52, and Mumia has written me, has been a part of the movements we've had, and I am Troy Davis and Free and Marissa Alexander, and the work we did for Troy Davis. He has always been that person. As someone that was in school for film, we stand in front of KQED because I have 6 films that I've worked on, but it wasn't no one but Mumia that really taught me how to do this work, to be with the community, to be the voice that we want. So KQED, we hold you accountable, right? At 52, I still have the same energy I had at 19 because it's elders like Mumia that has kept me, my children, and every young person in Boston and every other city. And we demand right now that we get the same time Mumia has, and Pam Africa and Ramona and all of them. We give homage to them. But I want you all to know we are also doing this at Lake Merritt, but we are taking another trip. We're going to the street called Dr. Huey Newton Street, which was 9th Street in West Oakland. And that's also at 3 o'clock. And the reason we're going there is because Mumia became Mumia because of the Black Panther Party. And Huey Newton was killed on that street. And that street intersects with Mandela Parkway. And we're calling that street on Saturday Holy Ground. Meaning we are having a rally, yes, but we're having something that we hope every city, everywhere and across the country will do. That the Black Panthers brought about the reason that the uprising happened last year. The reason for the Black Lives Matter, all of them, the way I've been connected, the way the young people can connect it, because before them, there was the Black Panthers, before them, there was Marcus Garvey's, before them, it was those in Mother Africa and across the country. That red, black, and green that I'm talking about, not just the Green New Deal, I'm talking the red, black, and green New Deal, is because we have to give homage. So please come out not only to the